all experience in the country. We thank you a lot for coming this week, also the week, and then let's get right into the conversation. And a good way to just round it all off for the week. Don't forget as well too, views to be expressed on the program is not in any way the position of Flow FM 92.7, was solely as expressed by the analyst this morning, Nicholas Warren.
Also, we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. It's on Facebook at FlowFMNG and on YouTube at FlowFM927. Let's get into the conversation and go to Osun State.
A lot is happening.
A lot is happening there. A lot. And the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetekun, is dismissing Governor Ademola Adeleke's claims that he is involved in the recent violence in Osun State and calling it unreasonable. He's also refuting allegations stating that the police only responded to calls for reinforcement to maintain law and order. Federal government is also cautioning Osun governor over controversial, local government elections, saying local government already has autonomy and is urging Adeleke to uphold the rule of law to prevent unrest.
Well, you see, this is one of the things about the kind of politics we practice in this country, And let me say this straightforward. That I'm a bit disappointed in the Attorney General, Attorney General of the Federation's, comment, because it was clearly skewed against the state government, because he made response to only one, of the court, ruling, leaving the other one, which hasn't been vacated, and moreover, I think that. When you leave out that aspect, when you don't address the entire situation in the holistic manner, you leave grounds for doubt as to whether you are impartial or not. He should always remember that he's the number one lawmaker. And if you look at, the number one law officer, if you look at the response by a group from Osun State, challenging the impartiality of partial or impartiality of the Attorney General, that he at some point was the legal representative of the former governor of Osun State, so that puts him in a precarious position that which invariably shows that gives the impression that he cannot be unbiased in that situation. He has defended what's the name of the former governor of Osun State, whom Adeleke defeated in the last election. Adeyemi Oyetola. He was his lawyer, during the electoral tribunal period. So now you are the Attorney General of the Federation and you have chosen not to look at the suit that was filed by APP, which was granted, which hasn't been vacated. And in any case, the ruling which you are making reference to, APP was not was not party to that particular suit that appeared to have given consent to the former, the local government chairmen who were removed from office by the court ruling. So I think that we must equally ask why the state government or the PDP has not gone to court to even appeal the appeal court ruling too, because there is a court of last resort, if I remember, the Supreme Court. If there are other constitutional issues involved in that matter, they could take it to the Supreme Court, as far as the Supreme Court, So that was why I made that reference to, how we practice politics in this part of the world. In this our Nigeria, we've been our politicians tend to, I don't know how to put it, they are kind of strange breed of humans that, one sometimes wonder, the kind of water they drink, where do all of them drink from. When they speak from both sides of the mouth. Look at that side that favors them and not what favors the law, invariably. So it's quite saddening. It's a very sad development.
Well, again, the Attorney General of the Federation, Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, has also asked the governor of Osun State, Ademola Adeleke, to shelve his plan to conduct local government elections in the state come tomorrow, Saturday, 22nd of February, 2025. And if you look at that, if you read that, statement further, you see that he's saying, well, the tenure of this, former, local government, chairman will expire by October. Can they be patient enough till October, where they will be, out of, office, and then you can conduct a new election, or you can bring in a caretaker committee So he's also asking the government to show the path of law and then to just avoid, unnecessary chaos in the state. In all of this, how do we settle out?
No, you see the problem. You see, this is the problem. You see, the Lateef Fagbemi is choosing to interpret that law as it suits himself and his party. That is the perception. You understand? Now, you see, the Osun State government and PDP is saying that, look, you were a lawyer to the APC governor we defeated. Now, if you look at what Adeleke said, his own interpretation is that even that ruling is just an academic exercise according to the appeal court. When something is an academic exercise, it means that event has overtaken it. So that aspect hasn't been cleared. That is on the one hand. That is this suit that the Attorney General of the Federation is insisting on must be obeyed. Now there is equally another a high court ruling given to a separate party, that has not been mentioned at all. That hasn't been vacated. So that is the position of the law now. So I expect the number one law officer to make sure that all these loose ends are tied before you make a categorical pronouncement. So that is the thing. Though I'm a bit at a loss as to why the state governor has not the state governor and the party, the ruling party in Osun State, haven't looked at a way of even trying to challenge the appeal court ruling. Mm-hmm. That is one doubt. That is a bit of a puzzle to me, because apparently, you could have a stay of execution, take the matter to the Supreme Court if there are constitutional issues involved in it, except if I'm not a lawyer, except if the terminal stage of such challenge ends at the appeal, like you have in some like the House of Reps, Senate, and things like. I think it terminates at the appeal level. But where there are constitutional issues involved, my belief is that it ends at the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So that is where I'm a bit confused, and one would need to look at the whole thing, entirely. But you see, like I said, if the tenure is ending by October, just a few months from now, I can then say that maybe that is why the court said it's purely an academic exercise, because events have overtaken. So that is on the one hand. That is the way I see it. I think it's not a case of asking the governor to respect the rule of law. I expect the Attorney General of the Federation to be even-handed. You understand? You can equally tell those agitating, those who are agitating too, that look, it's just a few months. Why not wait and recontest? Because they know what will happen. It's what has been happening across the states. The incumbent party clears the entire thing. So that is the whole thing. That is what it all boils down to. If an election is held today, I can assure you that PDP will clear all the parties there. I will clear all the seats in Osun State. That's what has been happening elsewhere. You understand? So it's not going to be different in Osun State. So,
but we'll again, because this is for the knowledge of dear listeners. If you look at that situation in Osun State, you have this one party. They are claiming that they are still legally elected men. You have elections coming tomorrow. Wouldn't be too much uproar in that state because of probably the lacuna within the interpretation of the law?
There will be, and
so how do we curb that? Because again, I don't think the country is going through a whole lot. It's not a time where there should be chaos everywhere, and then people cannot go out to meet, get daily bread like that.
Exactly. You see, I think sometimes there is always a need to take a back seat. You see, the governor of the state is the number one law officer, and I think due respect should be given to that office. If there has been anything as to why there has been talk about state police, state government autonomy and the rest of them, it's because of this overbearing influence from the federal government when it comes to enforcement of the rule of law. You understand? There is always that tendency that, when the federal government is in a different party from the state, the tendency is that the Attorney General will want to interpret it in such a way that is going to suit the party in power.
The federal.
Yeah. So, and that is where the problem lies now. You just imagine if there are state police, for instance. You understand? Well set up and things like that. And this kind of court ruling, of course, you are going to have the state police will simply barricade all the local government area, and nobody will have access to that place. That is what will happen. So you see, this is where I need I find it extremely difficult to put the Osun State government or governor, that is put him under the microscope, or excoriate him. I find it difficult because he's like he's like the underdog here, against the federal might, and all he has is clarity in spelling out what the cause is, and there appears to be controversy on it. So I would rather resolve it on against the person who appears to be stronger. So that is, you see, this is how I see things. You are talking of a giant, a giant and a minute person, and you are going to put them on the equal playing field. Of course, you know what the outcome will be. So if there are rules of engagement that kind of bring equity to it, you look towards the side of equity. Some form of autonomy, some form of strength, some form of support ought to be given to that weaker one. So that is how you ensure rule of law.
All right, well, let's move away from this conversation in Osun State and come to this one where the FCC is arraigning 20 foreigners over cyber crimes and economic sabotage. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission arraigned 20 foreigners, that's 15 Filipinos, 1 Indonesian, and 4 Chinese nationals for identity theft by employing the Nigerian youths to pose as foreign nationals for financial gain in violations of the Cyber Crimes Act.
That is quite strange, and that's a strange development, really, because we're talking of Nigerian youths all over, bestriding that particular crime in Nigeria, and you now have the incidents of foreigners, taking advantage of it's really disturbing, because we are these two, the Filipinos, the Chinese. These are people who are very vast in the cyber security and things like that. So if they have gotten involved in this matter in Nigeria, then we are in very serious trouble. I think I think we should follow that story more. We should follow it and see where it ends. My problem has always been that when you have some of these foreign nationals involved in some of these illegal things in Nigeria, you don't see the Nigerian government pursue it with much rigor, like the way they pursue the Nigerian situation, So you have the embassy coming and things like that. So at this point, I think this is where we need to, the federal government, the EFCC need to put its foot down. That when you cross the line in Nigeria, you pay the price, regardless of what color of your skin, regardless of where you come from. Yeah.
All right. Another conversation, the House of Representatives is also investigating this, the NGO over alleged USA terrorism funding. This time around is sponsored by PDP lawmaker Inuwa Garba. It's calling for a probe into the sources and utilization of funds by NGOs, citing national security concerns.
Yeah, exactly. There has been this controversy over the net, between some people who were involved in Bibog, that is Bring Back Our Girls, and some offshore Nigerian journalists, and a lot of people have been, weighing in on it, that the role the Bring Back Our Girls played, the kind of, global, reach they had at that time couldn't have been ordinary, and in fact, there was this thing I saw, this story, that was a flashback, that concerned, I think it was on the website of the U.S. U.S. Embassy in Mali or something like that, U.S. mission in Mali, purporting that USAID funded Bring Back Our Girls with jerseys, with vests, that they paid for it, to do that campaign in Mali. You understand? So, you see, the pattern, favors that narrative that they were kind of involved in some of those things, and of course, especially when you look at the posturing of Barack Obama, administration against the Nigerian government getting arms to fight, Boko Haram, and don't forget that it was PDP that was in power at that time. So that probably is one of the reasons why the lawmaker, who happens to be from PDP, he said that there is a need to probe it, probe that thing. I mentioned on this forum, yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? The day before yesterday, that that leak, that leak that led to a national embarrassment, involving money found in a jet, in a diplomatic pouch, in a jet, belonging to Nigeria, which was meant ostensibly to buy arms from the black market to shore up Nigerian defenses. How that information was leaked ought to be probed. So these are very serious matters, really, and I think the federal government should take it very serious. If we are saying, like, a lot of all these politicians are saying, public officials are saying that this is the time for us to stand on our own. So this is a very good example of how, if we are able to thoroughly investigate this matter, then of course we'll be able to get a bit of independence, from influences from outside the country.
All right. Thank you a lot, Nicholas. Let's discuss this trending national story. Former military president, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, retired, has defended the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, stating that the decision was made in the supreme national interest to ensure Nigeria's survival. Even in a way, saying that, the late MK Abiola won the 1993 general election, but he feared there might be a civil unrest if that election were to stand.
Well,
and this was it was said on Thursday during his the launch of his autobiography, where it was a gathering of the big and the creme de la creme of the country, and then there were donations. Aliko Dangote leading the pack and pledged $5 billion for 4 years, and he did say that if the IBB Presidential Library project extends beyond 4 years, they will continue to donate $5 billion.
You see, this matter of June 12th, is becoming way, way, way too controversial. You see, the time, the time lapse, that is, we're talking about almost 3 decades thereabout, has allowed us to really cross-examine all the personas involved and see what they have been doing. And I have read a lot of literatures, from participants in that, that saga at that time. In fact, there was one interview. I think we did it in Insider Weekly. Then we interviewed Omo Omoruyi. Omo Omoruyi was, I think he was the head of the Democratic. So he headed, a democratic institution under IBB. Then he was his political advisor, sort of, at that time. And there was something he said that 48 hours after that June 12th election, Babangida was completely powerless. That he faced mutiny within the army. You understand? And don't forget that, of course, you know what the army was like. Coup was in fashion at that time. You understand? Now, if you look at, the first story that came out of that memoir launch was that of, was the one I saw on Cable Index, where he said that Abacha annulled that election without his consent. That he had moved, around, and he has gotten the loyalties of armies, to annul that election. And, there was this story, was it an interview? Yeah, by Tell, I think it was in 1994 or thereabout, Vagabonds in Power. I think it was, that interview was granted by Umar Dangiwa, Colonel Umar, where he explained what was happening at that time. He was a pro-June 12 person, but a favorite of IBB. But he explained that at that time, there was utter chaos. Even he himself was arrested. So many things were happening within the army that could have led into a civil war. So you see, because I was responding to a former colleague that we used to know, is a lecturer in the University of Ife, Obafemi Awolowo University. He was, that same old mantra about Babangida this, Babangida that, and things like that. For me as a journalist, the time, has allowed for people to come down and do a thorough, holistic, investigation as to what happened. This is, you see, it is no longer fashionable to just place the blame on one person anymore. We have to look at the fact that, coup making, is not a one-man thing. It's not a one-man show. You have power blocks within the military that must support you. So when you take a decision that goes against the grain of what they want, there could be a counter coup that will take you out. Was that what played out? You understand? I wish I have read that book. If I had read that book, in fact, I've already told my book, my bookseller to try and get me that book, because I need to really get to hear Babangida's side of the story. There's this thing about we journalists. One of my teachers once told me in the newsroom that, a good journalist is the kind of person that will even want to interview the devil and find out why so much negativity is about him. Yeah, it's true. You understand? If the devil comes in here today, I want to put a midget in his mouth and ask him, God said you did this in Garden of Eden. Is it true? Why did you do that? Every kind of evil has been attributed to you. What do you get some kick out of doing things like this? I want to hear the devil's side too. You understand? So in this instance, June 12th is like that kind of lacuna. The country has not moved from that position. That crisis that was created. And I find it difficult to believe that just one man, is responsible for that. And don't equally forget that, when you look at, what Hamza Al-Mustafa has been saying about June 12, about some critical stakeholders from Southwest, coming to Aso Rock to say that, no, we can't give it to MKO and things like that. This story is so many. Just to sit down and make a categorical, tar brush of the entire account of the Maradona, as they call him, for me, I think it won't be fair to history. You understand? We need to look at every side of the whole thing and get people who were involved to answer more questions. At a point, people said so much about the man who conducted the election. The man came out, he said his own side, and from that book he said MKO won. But then there was still criticism that he wasn't too forthright about IBB's rules and things like that. Now the man has come out and said his own side too. So, but you see, I think the Abacha family, if they are listening to this, I think they have been too cowardly in this matter. I think the family should put up a memoir too to speak on behalf of Abacha. So that, when we have all these stories, then we know the role that everybody played at this time. It's not just to sit back and just say somebody wants to rewrite history or things like that. No, you were not there. You don't have all the facts.
Well, let me ask you this: as the Southwest move, past it, after and then the Abiola family, most especially, during the recognition on the former President Muhammadu Buhari, recognizing the late MK Abiola as the president, and giving him that honor, national honor, GCON. GCON.
Yeah. You see, look, what is not in doubt? What is not in doubt is that MKO won that election, fair and square. That is an established matter.
Then can we move past the conversation then?
Why was he annulled?
Okay, maybe that's the biggest question to ask. Why?
That's the thing. So it's not enough to say, because I was having an interesting conversation with one of my colleagues, at the Correspondent Chapel. He's a Federal Radio Corporation, fantastic guy. And he was telling me some things that I don't know even about some of this military top brass in those days. he was giving me instances of what happened in Niger Republic. How my Nasara was killed. You understand? He was killed with, by people he trusted. So there are certain things that happened at that point where, it's like a kind of a close-knit cult group. And unless we start interrogating most of these people, we will not get the answer. But like you rightly pointed out, what is not in doubt is that MKO won that election. And it's so good that IBB came out and cleared the air on that. But why was the election annulled? Who were what was the pressure that was brought to bear on him to go along with that thing?
Do you think the Southwestern Nigerians are still interested in that, and then the family of the late MKO are still interested in that?
It doesn't matter whether they are interested. We are talking of putting a very sad incident behind us. And clarity, when you purge yourself, the catharsis, when everybody says things, this is what is agitating us. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. That is only when you can move on. You understand? That was why they created Truth and Reconciliation, in South Africa, the Oputa panel. They were meant to clear some of these issues. You understand? So until we have a purgation of, feelings, we are not going to move past it. This is one step, one good step. It's going to provoke a lot of conversations in the days ahead. But at the end of the day, maybe somehow, at some point, maybe either Mohammed Abacha or even Miriam Abacha or even Gumsu Abacha might decide to do a memoir too, to say, okay, this is what I know. This is what I saw my dad, I heard my dad say, and maybe the son of a JTU, Husseini, might just come up one day, well, from my dad's documents that I found, I'm able to do a memoir on his behalf so that we can have all these stories. It's good for us. It's good as a reference point,
All right. Thank you, Nicholas Sumarinoya. And that's how we run down the program for this week. The headline news review. We're back on Monday, God willing, 8 to 8:30. Thank you so very much. Have a good start of the weekend. And keep listening to Flow FM 92.7. I want to especially thank you, Nicholas Waranoya, for the conversation of this week. We hope to have it more refreshing next week, Monday, when we'll pick up the conversation again. I am Dayo Adeyemi.
I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome to the weekend.
Here to light up the city, 92.7. Go with the flow.
We've never achieved anything from the subsidy remover. Instead, everything is going higher, fuel up, food stuff is striking up.
Look at us now, there is nothing.